Two guys either side of 50 with one dream to achieve middle-aged sporting glory. This is the Missing Links Golf Show. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Episode 18 of the Missing Links Golf Show. I am Steve Hinks and I'm joined by my fellow pilgrim, that is Andy Walker. Andy Walker, welcome to the show.
G'day, Mr. Hinks. How are you?
I'm good. I'm really good, as a matter of fact, because this is an absolute cracker of an episode, I think, that we've got lined up.
Yeah, I agree. Had a lot of fun with this episode, and I think that a lot of people are going to get a lot out of it. Certainly, I know we did a little bit earlier on today.
Mate, we certainly did. And this has been a little while in the making. We've been planning this one for a couple of weeks now. So, ladies and gentlemen, what we've got in store, Andy Walker and I earlier today had a Zoom call with an incredibly inspirational human, a man by the name of Josh Nichols that runs a podcast called The Mental Golf Show over in the US, one that I'm a big fan of and listen to quite regularly. And he's just such a lovely guy with a wealth of knowledge, and he joined us earlier today. And Andy Walker, I think it's fair to say it was, one of those conversations that you just walk away from thinking, my goodness, I learned a lot.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And I listened back to that conversation prior to us sort of recording again this evening, and just the wealth of information that Josh has, and just his demeanor. Like he's a really good guy just to have a bit of a chat to, but he's just got quality information that at every turn it was an incredible conversation.
Yeah, it was awesome. So I think fair to say that's probably enough of us talking about what we're going to talk about. Why don't we let the great man Josh Nichols get involved in the conversation? So we're going to cut to that. We're going to cut to that phone call, and we'll probably catch you afterwards to say goodbye at the end of the episode. So let's go straight to it, Andy Walker.
Let's do it.
And it is a very, very warm welcome to the Missing Links Golf Show to Josh Nichols. Josh, welcome to the show.
Thank you, guys. This is great. It's such an honor to be asked to be on anything, let alone you guys. So thank you so much.
This is a very prestigious show, Josh, so we don't just throw out invites to anyone.
But by me being on here, I got to disagree, but I appreciate that.
No, that's awesome. I think, look, a really good place to start, I feel, is giving you the opportunity, giving you the opportunity to give a little bit of a background about who you are, what you do. So the floor is yours if you want to explain to our listeners all about who Josh Nichols is and what he does.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I guess primarily now I am a golf psychology coach, and I work with players from junior golf to college golf, amateurs, senior players, professionals, mini tour, PGA tour. I work with players all across the whole spectrum, and all across the world on their psychology. And I don't have psychological credentials. I don't have a master's. I'm not a sports psychologist, but I help players with psychology from my own experience and what I've learned through kind of my own research in the science and reading and lots of different things. So that's my primary thing. My kind of backdrop to that is I'm also an amateur golfer, and I've got a decent amateur career that with some good results that lends itself to helping players deal with what they are going through, because I've experienced almost all of it, right? Not my PGA Tour clients, not even my mini tour professional players, because I've never turned pro, but I have a lot of that high level pressure tournament experience that helps me talk to players about things and not be making things up. So I'm continuing to try to play amateur golf. I try to play in all the big USGA stuff over here in the States and my local regional stuff. I try to play in those every year, but that's my kind of two primary golf related things. Getting to help players with their psychology and also working on my own psychology through trying to play golf myself.
That's
so
always...
I believe, did I read somewhere that you came runner-up in one of the big USGA amateur events? Can you maybe tell us a little bit about that, Josh?
Yeah. So it's the US Mid-Am or US Mid-Amateur, which is the US, it's like the US Amateur, but for 25 years and older. Right. And it's a match play style event where 300 some players qualify to get into the event, and stroke play 36 holes or medal play. And that whittles down to 64 players left for a bracket, a match play bracket. And then there's the round of 64, round of 32, 16, 8, 4, and then I made it all the way to the finals. Oh, no. And the winner of that finals gets to play in the following year's US Open and Masters. So I was one match away from playing in those two events. And, I lost that match handily because my opponent played completely lights out. I shot 69 it's a 36 hole match. I shot 69 in the opening match, equivalent to a 69. There were gimmies and pickups and stuff, but I was 6 down through 18 holes after shooting a 69. So he played incredible. I think he shot a 62 or 63 or something outrageous. So
makes it tough.
That makes it a little bit tough. So I don't know if anyone would have beat him that day, but that's kind of my tournament competitive claim to fame, if you want to call it. That's kind of the highlight of my playing career. Is I didn't even win the event is the highlight of my playing career. So I don't know how glamorous that is.
It's pretty good.
Although I also did read that you ended that year number 2 in the World Amateur Golf Rankings for the mid-amateur age bracket. So I mean that's a pretty decent claim to fame as well. I mean, being number 2 in the world for anything, I think it's
a bit better than decent, Andy Walker. I think that's incredible.
I'm happy sometimes if I'm number 2 in my house.
Yeah,
you're never better than number 2 in your house. I promise you that.
Exactly.
You could probably attest to that. Yeah,
that's a fact.
Yeah, so I had some other good finishes that same year, and it was kind of that summer and fall was kind of the culmination of a little over a year working with my instructor at the time. And it was a result of I bought into a process with him of, I don't care about results. I simply care about the process of becoming a better golfer. And if I play great, awesome. If I don't play well, it's okay. Either way, I will be okay because I'm dedicated to becoming a better player. And good things happen when if you're working on becoming a better player. So that dedication and that priority and that process allowed me to play well. It wasn't my primary aim, but it allowed me to play well. And I won a couple other events in the summer, and then that runner-up, and those contributed to my eventual ranking. So yeah, it was a good results year, but the results were a symptom of the process that I had in place.
I think that has become a theme from a lot of the things that we've talked about so far during this show, is the focus on process, and really immersing yourself in the process, whether that is on a shot-by-shot basis or whether that's on a preparation basis, to allow then the outcomes to take place. Like, is this one of the key themes that you talk about with your clients, Josh?
Absolutely. Yeah, you guessed it. Not only is it what I was able to actually experience myself, it it checks out with the science and the research, where having having an acceptance of outcome, a a radical acceptance of this could go great or this could go lousy. Either way, I can see it as it is, which is just another result, right? It's not the end of the world, but it's also not the most amazing thing in the world. It's just simply another result. That checks out with the science and the research on acceptance. And so my experience matches nicely with that. But I didn't come to that knowledge, really, that research knowledge, until 5 or 6 years later. But I was able to find out, oh, that's why that worked for me. That's why that's helpful. So now I take that kind of information and kind of pair the experience with the learning to tell players, this is kind of how it works. You're welcome to do this or not, right?
Yeah.
But this is kind of how it works. And the closer you can get to this being your mentality, the more freely you'll tend to play. When all that matters is the result. All that matters is that I become good enough to play on the senior tour. When that is the life or death goal, then now playing poorly is unacceptable. Not reaching that goal is unacceptable. So now you play protectively and scared and
Yes.
perfectionistically, right?
Yeah.
So rather than I need to do well, it's an acceptance of it's okay to not do well, right?
Yeah.
And that's where my experience and what I've learned kind of prove that to be true, I guess you could say. But it just makes it more, I can credibly say it to people because I think it's true.
It's such a hard concept, I think, for a lot of us, for a lot of the time, to wrap our heads around. Particularly,
it's not easy, right?
No, it's not, and I think it continues to challenge us because as a personal story, battling with a bit of a putting issue of recent times, and this has been well documented. Okay, so
Okay.
it's fine, but I'm happy to say we're coming out the other side of it.
I need to hear more.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Well, in really brief summary, because it's not about me, it's about you. In really brief summary, what had been getting in my head was the obsession on make or miss over putts, and really focusing on whether or not the putt's going to drop, and as a result, that's very much outcome thinking, and as a result, tensing up and leaving a lot short. I've tried to move towards forgetting the result and just thinking about roll the line and get the ball to the hole and let the ball do what it wants to do. When it gets there, it either drops or it doesn't, but it's actually not thinking about the result. But I feel like we get challenged with this outcome thinking continuously in the game of golf because of its nature, and that desire to try and bring it back to process. So I suppose the question that I'm leading to for you is, how do you do that? Like, what are some of the ways that you can prepare yourself for a round of golf to get centered in process and get out of this outcome thinking?
Sure. The difficult thing about maybe sport in general, but golf in a lot of ways, and maybe even the closer you get to the hole, becomes more and more difficult because it just becomes more binary. You either make it or you miss it. You either hit a good shot or you don't. And that line becomes blurrier the further away you get from the hole, right? You can hit 40 yards between right side of fairway and left side of fairway, and they're all pretty good, right? It's not I either hit a good drive or I didn't. It's there's a range there. But the thing about golf, and that it's so results oriented, right? There's no judges to say, did you do well or did you not? It's right there. The number doesn't lie. So golf is by nature very outcome oriented. And so much of what we do to get good at golf is very outcome oriented. It's very, very much so. I do this and I get this as a result. I work on my swing and my swing gets better. I work on my putting gets better. I can more mechanically, technically roll it end over end. I can start the ball on line more often now because I put more effort into it. But psychologically, the more you try to control it, the more effort you put into it, the worse things get. The more you realize I'm not where I want to be, so I need to try to do more, which makes you further realize I'm still not where I want to be. And so this kind of self-fighting leads to the downward spiral that we're all familiar with. So when you are so invested in outcome and that's all that matters, then you're going to feel the need to do and control and try to make, and now I need to be perfect for it to go in, and missing it is unacceptable. So now you're hitting this shot completely afraid of missing. You're hitting this putt completely afraid of missing. Instead of pursuing what you do want, you're avoiding what you don't want.
So well put.
When you're able to let go of outcome and you say how, the way I was able to was, as I mentioned earlier, I invested in a bigger picture, a bigger perspective of, I'm just trying to become a better golfer. If I can work hard on my game in the right ways, the result will be what it will be. And I can better accept a bad result because I know I put in the right effort. I know I committed on every shot. I know I strategized well. I know I prepared. So this result can be great or bad. Either way, I can handle it. And honestly, a really important thing is having a balanced life. It's not all about golf, right? Golf is one thing that we do. Our psychology is us applied to golf, applied to family life, applied to work, applied to podcasting. Yeah. So our psychology is built by being a whole person. So if golf and the pursuit of good golf and outcomes is the most important thing of all time, then it's really life or death for it to go well. But if you can become more balanced, then you can, if golf doesn't go well, it's okay, right? I've got family life, I've got other things. Golf is just one piece of me.
Sure.
So that was another major part of how I was able to let go of outcome. Was that summer, I actually met my now wife. Back then, she was just my girlfriend. And that had a tremendous effect on
Don't say just my girlfriend, Josh. Don't say just my girlfriend. That's still a very important role, okay?
Okay. I mean, at the time, it was not just my girlfriend. She is the love of my life at the time. So fair point. Yeah. But because she was so important to me, I was able to credibly say, I could play terrible today, and honestly, it's okay. I can miss this putt. Honestly, I will be okay. So that really allowed me to shift away from outcome to, I'm just going to try my hardest and do my best, and the result will be what it will be. And it was credible for me to be able to say that. So I don't know if that totally answers your specific how, because we, as golfers, we want give me a thing to do to help me do this better.
For sure. And for sure.
With psychology, a lot of it's letting go of doing, of needing to do. Right.
Yeah. It's kind of one of those things that we've organically been moving towards this theory. And, Andy Walker and I like to read a lot of books on the psychology of the game and have a lot of conversations about it. And I think where we are at various points is in this pilgrimage, is that taking that psychological understanding or that intellectual understanding, but then being able to apply it in a very practical, real world way. I really like the way that you describe about the importance of having a full life outside the game, and I think that's so important for golf, for work, for everything that we do. It's a really good point. So thank you for that, because I think that
Sure.
that absolutely is a good tip. Yeah, so not always just putting your energy into trying to get better at something is the answer. Sometimes you've got to do other things too.
Yeah, you have to oftentimes let go of it needing to go well. And it's such a backwards, counterintuitive thing. When you need something to go well, it makes it harder to get. But if you let go of needing it to go well, if you become more okay with it not going well, oftentimes it becomes easier to get. You let go of control to be able to gain control. And as golfers, and maybe if I could cast a wide net, maybe men in general, I don't know.
Yeah.
I work with a lot of females, so it's not necessarily, but it tends to, I tend to see this, and maybe it's a fair stereotype, but we tend to be fixers, and golfers tend to be tinkerers and fixers.
Yeah.
And we want to do something to get something out of it. We want control, and control often backfires, right? When we try to control a ball into the hole, I don't think anyone would ever say that that's a great way to feel over a putt. I'm going to try to steer this into the hole. I'm going to try to force this ball into the hole. That's an avoidant way to putt. You're avoiding a bad shot.
Yeah.
So letting go is so hard, but it's the way to gain control is to let go of control.
Yeah. Wow.
I find it really interesting. And Steve, I'm sure you'll agree with me that this is the third time now that men and the way we think and the way that we go about, well, not just golf, but about life, has a pretty big impact. I mean, we've had a couple of discussions about the fact, and we mainly talk about Australian men being we don't give ourselves credit, and we're quite deprecating when it comes to whether it be our own performance. We'll give away credit quite easily, when we do well. If we don't do well, we're quite hard on ourselves. I mean, we talked about walking into the clubhouse after a really good round, and our mates sort of ask us how we went, and we never say, we played beautiful golf today. It was awesome. I flushed it.
You'd be hounded out of the clubhouse. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, you have to say things like, I got a bit lucky. I had a couple of good bounces. A few of the other guys, they played well, but I just got a bit lucky out there. Things,
that's a form of not taking responsibility, whether good or bad, right? And it sounds like maybe I'm assuming this, but you probably more readily assume responsibility for when it goes bad. Like,
Absolutely.
I sucked today, right?
Absolutely.
And so you take all the credit for the bad, but not the good. So that's a skewed view of reality that assumes that I have no control over how I act and how I perform. And you do. You have. There are things that you can control. Letting control go of results, but taking on control of commitment and process. And I can't imagine you'd be received very well if you said, I didn't go very well, but I really committed to my process, and I went through I had a great time out there. I was grateful. I was like, those things probably wouldn't go over super well either.
I'm going to try it. I'm going to try it.
You should try it, because that's what matters. And, and the culture around you probably has a big effect on that, right? Yeah. I say it like it's easy, but it's not. So I I've spent plenty of time around American men, right, and at golf courses, and there is no shortage of self-deprecation, and
Sure.
I think it's a golfer thing primarily. It's just a universal thing. Maybe it's a human thing to say only take blame and never take ownership of how well it goes. So that's an obstacle that you guys have to overcome, I think.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things I'd like to, which I picked up on when you were talking, Josh, and you talked about acceptance, and I'm getting better at acceptance.
I don't think I am.
When I'm hitting bad shots and having a bad round, it's something that I've really tried to work on over the last sort of 12 months. However, caring less, and I've heard you, and in your podcast, I've heard you talk about caring less, and it's an interesting subject. I'm struggling when I know it's an important round, when I know it's an important shot, the process of caring less. I'm really struggling with that. It's not something I've ever, I mean, I really care about my result. And even if I start off with a few bad holes, I still try and, have the best round that I possibly can. I try and pull it back. I was taught by my dad to never give up. So that caring less, I'm interested to hear a little bit about sort of how you would go about that process of caring less.
Yeah. So there could be, and I'm probably at fault of this, there could be a misconstruing of the two terms of acceptance and caring. And if I have ever said acceptance means that you care less about the result, then I misspoke, because I don't believe that. I believe that you should be accepting that you care. You should be accepting of how important something is. You should be accepting of how much pressure you're experiencing. You don't, pressure only happens because you care. So if you stopped caring, you would stop feeling pressure. So, anytime you play in something that's important to you, and you desire a good result, your level of care will go up. And that should never be suppressed. And so the fact that you've gotten better at acceptance and you struggle, quote unquote, struggle with caring less, that's fine to me. I don't think it's a struggle to care less. I think you should care because it's important to you. You guys wouldn't be doing this podcast. You wouldn't be on this pursuit. You wouldn't play golf at all if you didn't care, right? Yeah. So caring is very important. You need to continue to care. You need to continue to feel nervous because nerves happen when you care. Nerves means that you're excited, you're ready to go, the juices are flowing. Now, when it becomes anxiety, that is a sign that you're afraid of how it might go, right? The future is now uncertain and scary to you. The future is always uncertain, but now that uncertainty is scary, and I need it to go well, and I need it to happen the way that I need it to happen. So that's where maybe care becomes too far, maybe too much, right? You care too much about the result, but I don't think you should ever say, I need to care less about performing well. Now, when you say, I need to perform well, that's a different story, because now performing well is life or death, and performing poorly would be death. So now your brain's got no choice. We're going to avoid this death as best we can. And that usually means tension, guidey swings, kind of steery, perfectionistic type of tendencies. So it's a self-check of how much does my care cause me to need good results? But I'm not going to get rid of caring, because I just wouldn't show up and play. I don't know. Does that answer get at what you're talking about?
Yeah. So it's more so, and what I get out of that, it's really sort of working on that acceptance part of it,
Yes.
and getting better at acceptance. I must admit, and you mentioned being nervous and having that sort of move over to anxiety, and I have been there as well. Where I've
Mm.
been extremely nervous to a point where I become quite anxious, especially when towards the end of a quite
It's
important
usually on the
round when I'm
13th
performing well.
tee, Andy Walker, when you've got water up the left side at your home course and your duck hook is
Yeah,
coming
Oh
into
boy,
play.
yeah.
tough tee shot.
Yeah.
I've got a pretty bad duck hook at the moment that I'm trying to work with my swing coach to get rid of. Yeah, the 13th hole at my home club is there's water pretty much from the tee all the way down to the green, and there are fairway bunkers down the right hand side. So there's not really a bailout area, but the water is the the really bad result, and that's my
Yep.
bad shot. So yeah, when I'm playing well and standing on the 13th tee in my last competition round, I actually took a 4-iron out and still almost
Sure.
in the water, but that's a different story. But yeah, so that anxious, and I've listened to a couple of other commentators talk about reframing nervousness to
Mm.
excitement. What's
Mm.
your take on that?
Yeah, I think that's not just wordplay. I think that's genuinely what the kind of neurochemical makeup of nerves is, as opposed to anxiety. So nervousness is kind of a mixture of all the kind of I'm motivated um and I've got the good feelings of the I'm ready to pursue something and I'm excited to do it, and I'm like the feeling of butterflies in your stomach is your blood leaving your torso to go out to your limbs to kind of prepare you to handle
Mm.
something important.
Mm.
So if it might not feel great, it feels kind of uncomfortable. We don't,
Mm.
not all of us like to feel nervous, but it's a state of readiness to handle something that's important to us. Because you care, you are nervous, right? So if we had a big speech in front of a crowd of 10,000 people, you wouldn't be nervous if you didn't care how it went. You literally like, I don't give a crap. Who cares? Then you wouldn't feel nerves. But no one ever encounters that because we all desperately want to do well. We don't want to
Yeah.
make a fool of ourselves. We want to impress. We want to be part of the group, whatever. So nervous is a sense of this is important to me. So let's ready our body. Let's ready our mind for it. So that's why you could hear nervousness and excitement can be interchanged. Nervous is a state of let's go. Like I'm ready. Let's do this. But then when you experience the future, or you project into the future and you say, I don't like that the future is uncertain. I want the future to go a certain way. I need the future to go a certain way. I'm afraid of how this might go. I had a terrible pre-run warm up, so now I'm worried about how the round might go. Or I had a great pre-run warm up, so am I going to blow it? I've got a great round going, and I'm on the 13th tee, and I'm afraid of what this tee shot outcome could be. That's anxiety about the future. That's not just nervousness at that point. That's more debilitating anxiety. So you could look at it from the end result backwards. You could say, if it's helping me, then it's nerves. And if it's hindering me, then it's probably anxiety. Nerves are always helpful. They always stimulate the parts of your brain and body that help you do better. That's why when your adrenaline is pumping, you can hit it 10 yards over the green. You become a better golfer when you're nervous. It's almost like a superpower to be nervous. You become better. It sharpens you. It sharpens your focus, everything. Being in the zone, being in the flow state, a major part of that is all the symptoms of nervousness. But when it's anxiety, you add in other chemicals, or you take away certain chemicals that are part of nervousness. And now you're not in the present. Now your mind is in the future. And that's when it becomes, I'm not able to perform as well as I can. I'm not able to be laser focused anymore because my mind is in the future. And now I'm in an avoidant state of mind. Like, I'm going to hit 4-iron because I desperately don't want to hit driver. And because I'm desperately afraid of what this result could be. I can't accept a ball going in the water or in the bunkers. Like, that's unacceptable to me. So I'm going to avoid hitting driver. And sometimes strategically that's a good decision, but it sounds like more for you, it's a psychological avoidance rather than a strategic avoidance. Right.
Oh, it's 100%. 100%.
That's a really good
mental
point.
avoidance.
It's a really good point about decision making, an attitude that's based on moving towards something rather than moving away from something. You reminded me of a story, which the Missing Links Golf Show is nothing if not full of tangents. Okay, Josh. So I apologise in advance. But you're talking about nerves being a superpower. So for everyone listening, Josh Nichols has a fantastic podcast himself called The Mental Golf Show. I'm an avid listener and I love it and learn a lot from it.
Absolutely.
And I listened to an episode not so long ago when you were talking about this exact topic about nerves and describing them as all the things that you just said, but also describing them as a superpower. I was a couple of days later driving my son to school. He's 11. He was about to compete in the school swimming carnival, loves his swimming, trains really hard. He was quiet in the car and I said, "Hey, buddy, what's up? How are you feeling?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm pretty nervous, Dad." And I went, "Okay, I've got this. I've just listened to Josh Nichols." So I said, "Mate, you're nervous because you care. That's a good thing. And the nerves can help you. In fact, they can be a superpower. So embrace it. Enjoy that feeling because it means that you care about the result and you're going to try your hardest." And he went, "Oh, okay, no worries." And anyway, he came home that day. He swam personal bests. He won the 50-metre butterfly and the 50-metre freestyle and had the swim meet of his life. So thank you.
Excellent.
Thank you for that epic parenting moment, Josh.
That's great. Yeah, that's all on you for being a great dad. That's amazing.
It was really, really cool. And I think it also demonstrates two things, and this is a very long-winded segue. It demonstrates two things, one of which is that lessons learned in golf are just as important outside of golf in all walks of life. But the other thing is that the wisdom of older age can be really effective when placed on young shoulders. So if you had a time machine and you were going to go back to, when you were, say, in the early 20s and potentially harbouring the dreams of hitting the PGA Tour at some point, what is some advice that you would potentially go back and give to a younger Josh Nichols?
Yeah, man, it would be you need to let go of how important outcomes are to you. Tournament results, rankings, individual shots, swing looking good, right? I spent all my time trying to perfect things that simply can't be perfected. And because I needed things to be so perfect, the opposite was detrimental to me. Now I'm not allowed to be less than perfect. I'm not allowed to play poorly in a tournament, it's just such an unfair expectation, especially on a young kid. It's on anybody, right? That's an unfair expectation. So I created such a stifling, rigid environment for myself that allowed for no flexibility whatsoever. There was only one way that I was allowed to be, and anything else was unacceptable. So there's no doubt as to why I didn't perform as well as I could. Every time I played, I felt like I could never access my skill that I had been working so hard on trying to gain. One, because I was going about my skill acquisition poorly. I wasn't working with an instructor for a massive part of my golf career from the age of 18 to 26, I didn't have a swing instructor. So I was going about it on my own and didn't know what I was doing. And every time I played, it needed to go exactly right. And I was trying to force myself to swing well in tournaments. If I don't swing well, then I can't play well. And if I don't start that ball perfectly on line, then I can't make the putt. So it was a stifling environment that was totally.
I think we may have just lost Josh.
Seems to have frozen just a little. In the midst of such a good answer as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Josh has come back. I can see him in the waiting room. Let's bring him back in.
Yeah.
Apologies, guys.
Oh, that's okay.
I think my internet went down.
You're in such good flow as well in the midst of an amazing
technology.
That's
is
okay.
great. Technology is great
Technology
until it doesn't work.
Until it doesn't work.
Yeah.
So if I could pick up where I left off.
Yeah.
Outcome was such an important thing to me. It was the be all end all. It was life or death for me to perform well. And that was in large part because of my huge goals of I am here, a lowly 16-year-old, 18-year-old, 22-year-old amateur player who's nowhere close enough to be good enough to be a PGA Tour player. So it was so much pressure on me to become as good as a PGA Tour player right now. I need to be as good as it today. If I don't play that well today in this tournament, then it's life or death, right? It's detrimental to me. So that it was just such a stifling environment that that you guys aren't that far, right? You have this big goal, but it's not so stifling that you can't breathe. I get the impression that you guys have a little better relationship with it than me, but that's what I would go back and tell myself is this is not life or death, right? There's more to life than golf, but also you will get good results as a symptom of your effort, right? If you put in good effort, you will get good results, maybe or maybe not, right?
It's really well put. We both admit that as younger players in both golf and other sports, this advice would have been incredibly helpful because we were absolutely guilty of that thought process and applying so much pressure on yourself to be perfect, which you're never going to, and the need to cut yourself some slack and that acceptance point that continues to come up in this conversation along with many others. It's almost, it's almost a bit of a Buddhist kind of approach of acceptance. I feel in some respect, maybe this isn't Andy Walker in reference to our pilgrimage. Maybe we've been looking at this all wrong along the way. But that I love that piece of advice, and it's something I know that we're both working on. So the question.
So sorry to interrupt you there because I think it's important that you mention pilgrimage.
Yeah.
And I think that's such a better way to frame it than I need a good result, right? A pilgrimage assumes there is a destination far off in the distance, right? And we know where that destination is. You can't have directions to nowhere. You can only have directions if you have an end point in mind. So your pilgrimage is towards a thing, but it implies that really what's important is the journey, right? The pilgrimage is honestly what we're really more interested in. And yes, that would be cool is if at the end that we actually do make it where we want. But the pilgrimage assumes I really just want to learn and improve and become a better person and become a better golfer. And if I get what my outcome, my desirable outcome, my preferred outcome is, great. But if I don't, look what we did along the way. And
absolutely.
That sets you up for acceptance of outcomes, right? This outcomes become just steps along the pilgrimage, just little drops in the bucket, rather than this is all that matters. I have to play well in this. And if I don't, it's the end of the world. That's just backwards.
Yeah, and that's a lesson that I think we've been learning as we've been progressing as well, because we've been at this now since October of 2023. Not a long time, but the knowledge and understanding of the psychological side of the game, the golf swing itself, everything related to it that we've been able to collect through, being interested in asking questions and exploring things has blown us away. And that's been more enjoyable than the actual scores that we put together. Andy Walker and I often talk about the difference between a fixed mindset and a growth mindset, and the importance of a growth mindset in life and in golf. I'm really interested in the time we've got left just to get your thoughts on that concept as well.
Yeah, it ties right into all of this. A fixed mindset lends itself to this. If this tournament doesn't go well, then I am a bad golfer. I need this result to be good in order to validate my skill level. Because if I don't see good results, then I am not a good golfer. And that assumes that you can't ever get better. That assumes that this result is the end of the line, and it's not. So a growth mindset says, I am going to work on becoming a better golfer, and then this result will be what it will be, and it won't mean anything about how good I can become, right? I will play in this event, I will receive a result, and it will provide me data to further grow, further improve. So to have a growth mindset is essential to acceptance, confidence, playing freely, playing better. So if you catch yourself in a fixed mindset place where I'm a terrible player, right? The kind of self-deprecating type of things are all kind of language of fixed mindset a little bit. And you got to catch yourself and say, no, that's not true. Like, whoa. You got to call yourself out on your own belief and reframe it and say, okay, that was just one result. That doesn't define me. That doesn't define where I can be in the future, because you have improved already. You've shown yourself evidence that improvement is possible. So there's no fixed mindset has no backing to it, right?
I've got one last question, and this is one that's been inspired by one of my favorite podcasts, and I think it's a great question, and that is this. It is said that there's a percentage of golf that is mental and there's a percentage that is physical.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? Yeah. If you had to put a number on what percentage was mental versus what was physical, Josh, what would you put on it? Difficult question to answer. I have been told there's no right or wrong answer to this question.
This feels weird. I feel like I'm looking in a mirror. I mean, clearly it's 100% mental and 0 physical. Clearly, that's all that matters. Is the
Says
mental,
the host of the
right?
Mental Golf Show. Yeah.
Of course, that's all that matters. From what I've learned, the best answer, I can't remember who said it, was it's 100-100. They're not. It's not like the more you have of one, the less you have of the other.
It's not a zero sum.
And in fact,
like it.
No. It's a I need to work fully on my physical game because I need to become a better golfer. I need to raise my skill level. In order to play on the senior tour, you need to be a better golfer. Your stats need to be better. Your dispersion pattern needs to be tighter. Your make rate from 8 feet needs to be better. So you have to work on your physical game. And in working on your physical game, it helps your mental game. It helps you be more accepting of results because I'm working so hard on my physical game, I become more accepting of results because improvement physically is now my priority. And if I get good results, awesome. And if I don't, it's okay. So they work in tandem with each other. They overlap each other. you work on your mental game as you work on your physical game. As you play, you are going through good strategy. You're making sound strategic decisions. You're committing fully to shots. You're accepting results. But you also have to make good physical motion at the golf ball as best you can. So 100 is the best answer I've heard. And it also, I don't think, when I say there's no right or wrong answer, I think any other answer besides that is wrong.
Ooh, controversial.
Gauntlet thrown down.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
That's truly how I feel. And that's not just based on kind of what I've learned. It's based on my own experience. So I'm fully convicted that that's how it is. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's amazing. I think it's a great answer. I would say mathematically, I don't think it's a great answer, but
no, percentages don't really work that way.
Yeah, maths has never really featured as a strong point on the Missing Links Golf Show, and probably not on the Mental Golf Show either. So that's not what we're all.
Yeah, forget it.
Not what we're here for. Andy Walker, have you got any final comments, questions for Josh? I know we're running short on time.
That's okay. Bring it.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, I guess the one thing I wanted to ask about, and it's it might be sort of we might not have enough time to cover it completely. I know that you have a custom practice plan that you do for clients. Given sort of, and we're both guys with busy lives, and struggle to fit golf in and have it at the top. Well, it's never at the top of the rung of the ladder, but making the most of the time that we have. That custom practice plan, I feel, is something we could really benefit from. So can you maybe just expand a little bit with the time I've got left on what that is?
Yeah. I think that's, again, there's so many themes that are kind of matching up here. Being able to know that I'm doing the right things with the time that I have, with the resources that I have, is so vital to being able to accept outcomes, and not to mention to become a better player, to become good enough to accomplish your goals. You need to work hard in the right ways. And a major component of that is I tend to, and I think a lot of players tend to, make emotional decisions of what we should work on. Because based on the last round we played, I hit the snap hook into the water. I'm going to hit an hour straight of drivers, right? And that might not be, that's just one shot across an entire round of golf. That may be a highly emotional moment for you that you would love to eliminate, but it doesn't deserve that much weight. So the certain things that we work on don't deserve all the weight that we necessarily give them. We make emotional decisions of what to do. In the same way that throughout a work day, we don't feel like doing something, so we just slack off and don't do it. We push it, we scroll Twitter or whatever.
By the way, if my boss is listening, that actually never happens. So
that's not what you do. You don't do that, right?
Yeah.
Only I do that.
Yeah.
We're emotionally driven, feeling driven people. So creating a plan ahead of time when you're not in an emotional state kind of takes all of that away, given that you choose to follow it. So taking the emotions out of it, giving yourself a plan, saying, this is the time that I have, these are the resources that I have, so I'm going to follow this plan. And I also know it's based on my stats, it's based on what I actually need to work on. So you know that you're always working on the right things in the right ways for the right amount of time in the right proportion in an unemotional way. So I think that's vital. It's a major component of how I got better was I pre-planned my practice time for the week or at least for the day. I knew in advance what I was going to do.
Yeah. And that's one thing that I'm guilty of, I guess, not doing. So I think maybe off air we can have another conversation about that, because I'm really keen to look into having a more strategic approach with my practice each week.
Sure. Yeah, it's important.
It's an amazing point. I think that's probably all we're really going to have time for. This conversation has been phenomenal, Josh.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would love to get you back on this show at another point in the near future to explore some of these.
Do part two.
For sure, because there's so much really good information that I know that we haven't even got to talk about today. But
I got about half my list done today of stuff we're going to talk
I know, and I'm writing more as we go. I'm sure that there'll be some listener feedback with some questions as well, because we love it when our listeners get involved and give us feedback. Not all of it's flattering, I'll admit, but it's certainly constructive and it helps us improve.
It should all be.
Yeah, no.
Can't see how that could happen.
They're honest, mate. Our listeners are nothing if not honest, and we love them for it. So, but speaking of them, where can they find you, if they want more information?
Yeah, so as you mentioned, I run the podcast, The Mental Golf Show. If you like the kind of things that we talked about today, that's all we talk about over there. So it would be a good supplement to the Missing Links podcast, right? So that would be a great place to go.
Yep.
The most common thing that the place where you will find me the most is on Twitter or X at Josh Luke Nichols. That's my account there. And I try to post stuff multiple times a day. Again, all about mental game, golf, psychology type stuff. So if you want more of me, those two places would be the best.
Yeah, awesome. And we'll drop links in the show notes to this as well, so people can get in contact. We will definitely be in contact, and we thank you once again for joining the Missing Links Golf Show. Collaboration between the Mental Golf Show and the Missing Links Golf Show. They've got similar sounding names. They are the numbers 1 and 2, equal numbers 1 golf podcasts on the internet. So
100.
Yeah, that's right. It's exactly right. Josh, awesome to have you. We've had a ball. I hope you've enjoyed it, and let's chat again soon.
Thank you so much, guys. It was great meeting you and great doing this.
Nice.
Thanks, Josh.
So there you have it, Andy Walker. What an absolutely ridiculously fantastic conversation that was. What a super bloke Josh Nichols is.
Yeah, absolute champion. And look, as I said in the intro, the depth of knowledge that Josh has is phenomenal. And just not only his playing days, so he's been there and done that in fairly big USGA events, but he's then got the technical knowledge to back it up. And I think that's what he mentioned close to the start, is that when he was on his own pilgrimage, he talked about having a coach, and that process of getting to the final of the US Mid-Am and then ending the year at number 2 in the World Amateur Golf Rankings for the Mid-Am age bracket. And he said at the end of it, and the acceptance and being focused on the process, he knew that worked, but didn't know why it worked.
Yeah, it's a really good point.
Now he's got the knowledge behind it, the technical knowledge to understand why that works, which is obviously why he's now teaching it.
Yeah, absolutely. Probably also fair to say that he is the closest of anyone that's appeared on the Missing Links Golf Show. He's the closest to having played at the Masters.
Yeah, I reckon he was one game away.
Just amazing.
Yeah, if they'd nailed that final of the USAM, then or Mid-Am, I should say, then he would have been there. But look, I mean, the guy shot 62 or thereabouts.
I know, that's just nuts.
First round. I mean, most pros would probably still be down against him shooting 62. I mean, that is ridiculous in amateur golf.
Yeah, and in like such a big stage as well. You could understand the finals of an event like that being won 78 to 76 or something like that. But but for both of them to go low, and for one in particular to go that low, that is quality golf when it counts.
Yep.
which is amazing.
Yep.
Look, what I thought was really interesting, and some of the stuff that stuck out to me now that we've had a little while to digest the interview, you talked a bit about the acceptance of outcome. The other thing that I liked was when he was talking about gaining control by letting go, which is kind of similar.
Yes.
But that, and there was a lot of the message in there of the more with the golf swing, the more that you try to control the outcome, the more that your technique breaks down because you start to steer and you don't, potentially get a full turn, and all these sort of arm dominant moves start to come into the swing rather than the body, rather than surrendering to the process and letting the outcome happen as it will. So it's so hard to do,
which is
though.
a bit of it's a paradox. Like logically, when you think about it, it's a paradox, but that then you actually start applying it and it makes perfect sense.
Yeah. I mean, it obviously works. The other thing that stands out to me is this absolute sort of laser focus on process.
Yes.
And we've had a few good quotes during the time that we've been doing the Missing Links Golf Show. Probably one that sticks with me the most, the great man David McClelland with his short game. And I think this is up there, which is now for me is process. You got to say it 3 times for it to sink in. Apparently, that's the way my brain works.
Yeah.
But, it's. I think that's the key. I think that's the thing that we got out of that.
Yeah. Well, look, and that's it's interesting because I mentioned to him that there've been times where my nervousness has sort of crossed over into anxiety.
Yeah.
And bringing it back to process, I think, I'm going to start trying, and while I've been working on acceptance, I think I also need to bring that process thinking back in as well, because I do, when I get to the 15th, 16th and I'm having a good round, I do start thinking about the end result. Absolutely. There's no question about it. So reinforcing and refocusing back on process, keep working on acceptance, but really start working on that process focus. I think that's gonna be a big key for me.
I think it's a little bit along the lines of what we spoke to Neil Smith about with the mental scorecard, and really looking at that, and that was one of the things that for me really helped in the couple of rounds of golf that I've used it, because your focus then is about doing a couple of things. One is planning the shot before you hit it, so making your decisions before you play the shot and not stepping up to the ball without a plan for what you're going to do. But then when you step over the ball, committing to the execution of that, so no longer kind of thinking about what you're trying to do, but actually just focusing on the execution element and committing to that, again, process, that word, and going through it rather than allowing the thoughts to drift into the future or drift into the past. I thought that was particularly helpful. It's a similar thing explained in a slightly different way by 2 different people, I think, that have been telling us much the same thing.
Yeah, and it is a common theme. I mean, I do remember sort of, Neil talking about, okay, you've played, 12, 13, 14 holes where you've been process focused, and then all of a sudden for the last 4 or 5 holes, you do something completely different, expecting to still play like you have over the first sort of 12 or 13 holes. And again, it just, when you say it out loud or you hear someone say it out loud, it doesn't make a lot of sense. But it's such for me, it's a natural tendency to start thinking about the outcome and what that outcome's going to be when you start getting deep into the round.
That's precisely why people, sort of don't finish well, because you're so worried about getting into the clubhouse, and why you then capitulate over the last 4 or 5 holes and either lose the event. Or what quite often happens, and we've talked about this as well, which we didn't talk about with Josh, but it's that concept of self-perception, where when you think, I'm a 5 handicapper or 10 handicapper or 15 or 20 or whatever the case may be, if you're coming in with 3 holes to play and you're 5 shots under your handicap, you start getting these, thoughts of glory, and invariably it drifts back to where your handicap was. But if your self-perception was better than what your handicap was, and then essentially you're just in line with that not expectation's the wrong word, with perception, then you're not going to do that, because it's not extraordinary. So being able to reset that is important. The reason why I don't say expectation is because you don't want to get that then into shoot a particular number or a particular score outcome thinking whilst you're out there as well, because that can obviously have the opposite consequences of what you're trying to do. So that there you go. That all probably makes perfect sense, and it's really simple. So that's how you do
it. Absolutely, yeah. No, well, I think that potentially is part of the next conversation we had with Josh. I mean, obviously he's agreed to come on the show again at some stage over the next whether a couple of weeks, a couple of months. So I would love to have him back on the show. There's a couple of other things that I sort of missed out on talking to him about, which I've still got on my list. So. Yeah, we'll definitely have to keep in touch and get him back on the show at some stage.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think for everybody out there listening, please, if there's more stuff that you would like to hear, certainly from Josh, we are keen to get him back on the show at some point in the near future. If there's other questions that you've got, things that you would like us to ask him, please drop that in on the Facebook page. Probably a good place to do it will be in the comment section of the notification that we put out about this episode. Conversely, you could email us directly at themissinglinksgolfshow@gmail.com. Just drop us a line there, and we will absolutely add that to the list of discussion items that we do next time with Josh. But I think, Andy Walker, that's probably it for the episode. I think it's been an absolute cracker, and I know it's another one of those ones. We've had some amazing guests, in the last couple of months, from Scotty Fisher, Neil Smith, Josh Nichols, and of course Dave McClelland, who was our very first guest. I feel like we are truly, truly fortunate to have people of this caliber come on our show.
Yeah. And look, I know that we've been talking about trying to get more guests on the show as well, and we've got a couple of potentially very exciting developments in that space. So
yes, we do.
Hold that thought for a moment, and hopefully we'll be able to get some more quality guests on the show as well, because it's not. I mean, we learn so much from talking to experts in their field, and I just feel as though we're. This whole pilgrimage that we're on,
this Odyssey,
being enhanced.
Andy Walker.
The Odyssey, is just being enhanced by the level of guests that we have on the show. I've been really surprised, actually, just the quality of interviews we've had so far.
100%. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that is it for another episode. Please, you know what? I think if you're ever going to leave a review, this episode's not a bad one to do it with. Maybe just drop in that review, something that you learnt, something that you picked up out of that conversation. That'd be amazing, because it does help this show get in front of other people. So we do appreciate that. And on that note, share away, send it to a friend, someone that you think might need some help with their game, or not, because I don't know that we're always helpful at the same time. But anyway, please do that. Jump on the Facebook page, leave us some questions, and it'll be fantastic to hear from you. But that's pretty much it. So thank you so much, Andy Walker. You have yourself a great evening as well.
Yeah, thanks, mate. And have a great week, everyone.
Awesome.